Good morning, children. Today we are going to do our fourth lesson, Energy in Day-to-Day Life. Our fourth lesson, Energy in Day-to-Day Life. So before I start the lesson, I must say, right, when you are watching this video, you must have your textbook with you and you must go through it and refer the hard words. Okay, right? So in this lesson, we are going to talk about energy. Energy. Now, what do you mean by energy? First of all, think about the things you do in your day-to-day life. The things you do in your day-to-day life. For example, right, your own activities. You run, you walk, you talk, you lift things, you pull things, you push things, right? So for these things you need energy. Without energy you can't do anything. Without energy you can't do anything, right? So to take energy for our activities, what we do is we eat, right? From the food we eat, we get that energy to do our day-to-day activities, our activities. To what I say, to run, to walk. අපි එදිනෙදා කරන ක්‍රියාකාරකම් කරන්න අපිට ශක්තිය දෙන්නේ අපි කන කෑම. Right? So without energy, if we are weak, if we have no energy, we can't do anything. We can do nothing. Right? Without energy, we can't do anything. Right? So likewise, for the other activities we are doing, for example, if we to get electricity. Now electricity is vidyut shakti, that is a type of energy. Now without that type of energy, we can't operate any equipment in our house. That means if we take the TV, if we take our washing machine, refrigerator, we can't operate anything without the electricity, that type of energy, right? Now think if you want to dry something, what we do, we put them in outside to dry it with the sunlight. So without that heat energy from the sunlight, we can't dry them, whatever it is, right? So without energy, we can't do anything for our day-to-day activities. For different types of activities, we use different types of energy. එක ජාතියේ වැඩවලට එක ජාතියේ ශක්තියින් අපි පාවිච්චි කරනවා. For different types of activities, we use different types of energy, right? So what is energy? Now I said without energy we can't do anything. Without energy we can't do anything. So then what is energy? Energy is defined as the ability to do work. The ability to do work. කාර්ය කිරීමේ හැකියාව. Without energy we can't do anything. So if we can, that means there is energy. ශක්තිය නැතුව අපිට වැඩ කරන්න බෑ. වැඩ කරන්න පුළුවන් කියන්නේ ශක්තිය තියෙනවා. So the energy is defined as the ability to do work. කාර්ය කිරීමේ හැකියාව. Right? So this is energy. Now I said without energy we can't do anything. So our different types, for our different activities in our life, we use different types of energy. ශක්තිය උඩ දේවල් කරන්න බෑ. ඉතින් අපේ ජීවිතයේ තියෙන එකිනෙක වෙනස් වැඩවලට අපි වෙනස් ශක්තිය ආකාර පාවිච්චි කරනවා. So how do we get this energy? How do we get this energy? Now we know what is energy and we can't do anything without energy. Now how do we get this energy? මේ ශක්තිය අපිට ලැබෙන්නේ කොහෙන්ද? Now I said for our day-to-day activities like running, walking, speaking, whatever it is, we gain energy from our foods. Energy එක හම්බ වෙන්නේ කෑම වලින්. ඒ වගේ energy, how do we get energy? How do we get energy? That is from energy source. From energy sources. Now in our earlier lessons we discussed The objects which provide light are light sources. Objects which provide sound are sound sources. Now, objects which produce energy are energy sources. We gain energy from energy sources. So, we can't do anything without energy. So, we gain energy from energy sources. Now, there are different types of energy sources in our surrounding. So, in this lesson, we are going to discuss about those energy sources and their applications. මොනවද අපේ ශක්තිය දෙන ශක්ති ප්‍රභව සහ අපි ඒවා කොහොමද යොදා ගන්න කියන එක. Right? Okay, now let me summarize again. Our topic is energy in day-to-day life, right? So we discussed that energy is the ability to do work, okay? And we gain energy from energy sources, and there are different types of energy sources. So in this lesson, we are going to discuss about those energy sources and their applications, right? So our first energy source will be the sun. Our first and the main energy source is the sun, right? The sun is the most important energy source of all, right? That means without sun, nothing will occur in this world, on this earth, right? Because for each and everything happen on this earth are generated by the energy produced given by the sun, right? For example, now you know that for the existence of living organisms on earth, for the existence පැවැත්ම ජීවීන්ගේ පැවැත්ම සඳහා we need food. We need food. Without that, no living organism can exist. කාටවත් ඉන්න බෑ ආහාර නැතුව, right? So for produce food, the energy source, the energy is given by the sun. You learned about photosynthesis, right? The photosynthesis occur in trees. Are the only way which we get food, right? So for that process, photosynthesis, the energy is given by the sun. අපිට මේ පෘථිවිය මත ඉන්න සියලුම ජීවීන්ට ආහාර දෙන එකම ආකාරය තමයි photosynthesis, ප්‍රභා සංශ්ලේෂණය කියන්නේ. ඒ ප්‍රභා සංශ්ලේෂණයට ශක්තිය දෙන්නේ කවුද? සූර්යයා, the sun. So without sun, there will be no photosynthesis and there will be no food. So there will be no living organisms, right? So in that case, we all understood that the sun is the most important energy source. So we are discussing about the uses we gain from our most important energy source, the sun, right? So the first thing is the photosynthesis. First thing is the photosynthesis, where all the living organisms on this earth gain food. The other thing, you may have heard solar panels. Solar panels, that is the in present everyone wants to use the solar energy, because there are so many uses of using this solar energy, right? The first and most important thing is there is no environmental pollution. Now, with the prevailing condition of the earth, everyone wants an energy source which does not pollute the environment, right? Nowadays, the most common energy source we are using is fossil fuel. That means fossil ඉන්ධන තමයි අපි මේ කාලේ ගොඩාක් පාවිච්චි කරන ගොඩාක් අපිට පාවිච්චි වෙන energy source එක වෙන්නේ. But that cause a lot of environmental pollution. So everyone wants something which do not pollute our environment. Now as the society learns the effect of polluting our environment. Now they are they are looking for a energy source which does not pollute their surrounding. දැන් දන්නවා පරිසරයට හානි කරාම මොකද වෙන්නේ අපිට කියලා දන්න නිසා දැන් හැමෝටම ඕනේ පරිසරයට හානියක් නොවන දෙයක් හොයාගන්න. So with that the sun is the most suitable energy source because it does not cause any environmental pollution and there is no end. Right? No one can say that don't use that sunlight, it will get energy away. No one can say that because there is no limit. Right? We can use any way we want. There is no limit of sunlight. The only thing is at night there is no sun, but we can store the energy and use it. So there is no problem, right? So the solar panels are the most suitable way of getting energy in our days, which suits to the condition on our earth, right? So in this case the sun is the most important energy source, right? So we use photosynthesis and using solar panels we can get electricity. We can get electricity with Shakti. With that we can operate all the electric equipment in our home, right? There is no problem of that. Apart from that, we use sunlight to dry things, to dry our clothes or to maybe dry chilies or whatever what we do in our household activities. Right? So for those things we use sunlight, and you may have seen there are solar heaters that is to take hot water, right? There are solar heaters, සූර්ය ජලතාපක අපිට වතුර උණු කරගන්න ඒකට ශක්තිය ලබා දෙනවා සූර්ය ශක්තිය, right? So now you may have understand that the sun is the most important energy source in our lives. That is very important. Okay. Right now, after the our second energy source will be the biomass. Biomass. What do you mean by a biomass? Now, biomass is the plant and animal materials. Plant and animal materials which can give energy. Right? For example, the most commonly used biomass is the firewood. දර. අපි දර කියලා ගන්නේ අපේ විශේෂයෙන්ම අම්මලා ගෙදර කුස්සිය උයන්න ගන්න දර. ඒකට ඒ ශක්තිය ලබා ගන්නනේ to take heat. ඒ heat කියන ශක්තිය ලබා ගන්න use කරන energy source එක තමයි biomass එක තමයි firewood දර. Right? So the commonly used biomass is firewood. Other than that, we can use rotten foods, rotten vegetables or hay maybe, right? You have an activity to make a kudulipa. Kudulipa has an activity that is given in your book, right? So you have to make it. Try making a kudulipa. Biomass is a plant or an animal material which can produce energy. Plants or animal materials which can give energy, right? So in plants and animals, what is the energy which is stored? Plants and animal material වල මොනවද store වෙලා තියෙන energy? Who gives energy to plants and animals? Who gives the energy to plants and animals? The sun. The sun gives the energy to plants and animals, right? By photosynthesis they give food, and by eating food the plants and animals gain energy. So in biomass the solar energy is stored. Biomass වල තියෙන්නේ solar energy තමයි අපි biomass විදිහට පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. Solar energy direct ගන්න පුළුවන්. Biomass විදිහට අපි indirect ගන්නෙ solar energy. The solar energy is given indirectly through biomass, right? The second one is fossil fuel. Fossil indana. Fossil fuel. Second one, fossil fuel. What is that? Now you may have heard, that is I said earlier also, the commonly used fossil fuel energy source is fossil fuel. What is that? The petrol, diesel and the gas cylinders you are using in your home, right? Your mothers are using gas cylinders for your gas cookers, right? That is also filled with a fossil fuel. So the most commonly used fossil fuel energy source is the fossil fuels, right? Now what are these fossils? You know the way fossils can be. Those are also the animal and plant materials which were buried under the earth, under the ground, millions of years back. අවුරුදු මිලියන ගානකට කලින් පොළව යට වැළලිච්ච සත්ව සහ ශාක කොටස්. Right? Now under the high pressure and high temperature, right? These fossils are formed. The buried animals and plant materials go through high pressure and high temperature. Due to these processes, due to these conditions, the fossils are made. What we do is we take these fossils and we burn them and we gain fossil fuels. That is what we do. But there is a big disadvantage, that is these fossil fuels are limited because it takes millions of years to make a fossil, right? So with the speed we are utilizing these fossil fuels, they do not occur. අපි මේ පාවිච්චි කරන speed එකෙන් fossil fuels හැදෙන්නේ නැහැ. So one day in near future, the amount of fossil fuels we have will come to an end. අගදීම දවසක අපි ගාව තියෙන fossil fuels ඉවර වෙනවා. right? අපි මේ පාවිච්චි කරන speed එකෙන් fossil fuels හැදෙන්නේ නැහැ. Fossils හැදෙන්නේ නැහැ. They take millions of years. Right? So this is a very limited energy source we have, and also it causes a lot of environmental pollution. Right? Because the burning of fossil fuels emit carbon dioxide. Mainly, burning of fossil fuels දහනය කරාම carbon dioxide වායුව එළියට දෙනවා. So that is a causative of environmental pollution. Right? So the fossil fuels is the commonly used energy source in nowadays, but that is not a practical one, not that much practical due to the environmental pollution and because it is limited. Right? So if we take fossil fuels, now I said the petrol, diesel we are using and the coal what we use and anguru and the other thing is LP gas. What you have inside your gas cylinders, go and check the LP gas. So that is also comes from fossils, right? So the fossil fuels. Fourth energy source we have is wind. That is also a harmless energy source. There is no harm like the sun, no energy, no harm, no environmental pollution, right? So how do we get energy from wind? Now in ancient times we used windmills. In ancient times, right? In the past we use windmills, right? Right? In that case we use the energy of the wind, right? Nowadays you may have seen nowadays we use this wind energy to produce electricity even, right? Now if you see when we are going to the Puttalam region, we see that there are a lot of very big fans. No, there are very big fans and they rotate with the energy of the wind, and with that it rotates the plates of turbines. Turbine කරකවනවා ඒ energy එකෙන්, and from that we can use electricity. So this is also very practical and environmental friendly energy source if we can use, right? So this is also, and there is also no limit. No one can say that wind will end soon. No one can say there is no limit. But the thing is, now if we take like in our region, we don't have that much wind which is enough to rotate a big fan. But there are regions where have a strong wind, right? So in those areas we can use these wind power to produce electricity even, right? Our next energy source is water. Now energy stored in running water. Energy stored in running water. ගලා යන ජලයේ. Energy stored in running water can be used to do things and to produce electricity. Right? So how do we produce electricity using water? How we do work using water? Now there are hydropower stations which we gain electricity. Now in our country, of course, we are using these hydropower stations to produce electricity, right? So what we do, what happens in these hydropower stations? ජල විදුලි බලාගාරවල මොනවද වෙන්නේ? Hydropower stations. මොකද දන්නව ජලාශ තියෙනවා. Right? You may have seen, right? So what we do is, now they store water in very large tanks. And near that tank they build hydropower stations, but there should be a very important thing, that is the hydropower station must be in a lower ground than the water tank. Water tank එකට වඩා පහළින් තමයි බලාගාර hydropower station එක තියෙන්න ඕනේ. That is why when the water is running from the high ground to the low ground, that comes in a very big speed. නේ අපි උඩ ඉඳන් පහළට වතුර යවන්න බැහැනේ. අපි වතුර යවන්න පුළුවන් පහළ ඉඳන්ට වතුර යවන්න බැහැ. පුළුවන් උඩ ඉඳන් පහළට. උඩ ඉඳන් පහළට වතුර හරිය ලේසියෙන් එනවා. So when the tank is in a higher level and the power station is in a lower level, right? The water runs very easily from the higher ground to the higher level to the lower level, right? So water runs through pipes, and with the energy of the running water, the plates of the turbines are rotated and the electricity is produced. So the most important thing is the water tank and the hydropower stations should be in a water tank should be in a higher level and the hydropower station should be in a lower level. That's the point, right? So that is how we use the energy of water. By the energy of running water, we use the plates of turbines. We rotate plates of turbines and produce energy. Okay, and our next energy source, sea waves. Sea waves, tidal waves, geothermal energy and nuclear energy. All these four energy sources, we do not use them in our country. Sea waves, tidal waves, geothermal energy and nuclear energy. All these four energy sources, we do not use them in our country, but if we can use them, that is a very useful. Because now sea waves, that is of course we have. Now you know that sea wave, inside the sea wave there is a lot of energy. For example, if you may have not seen it, but you may have seen it in TV, that is the tsunami, right? Now tsunami, that is a very big sea wave. Now think of the energy stored in that wave. Now not in the tsunami wave, but in all sea waves, a certain amount of energy is stored. හැම මුහුදු රළකම tsunami තරම් ලොකු නැති වුණාට හැම මුහුදු රළකම ලොකු ශක්තියක් ගබඩා වෙලා තියෙනවා. Right? So using that energy, we can rotate plates of turbines and produce electricity. So that is a very useful energy source if we can use it practically. Because as I said, there is no environmental pollution and there is no limit. That is the most important thing. There is no limit and no environmental pollution. විදුලි රළ පාවිච්චි කළා විදුලි නිපදවුවා කියලා ඒක කාටවත් හානියක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මුකුත් වල කවදාවත් ඉවර වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So in other countries they use sea waves. What they do is they build power stations, floating power stations on the sea, and with the sea waves they produce electricity, right? The next one is tidal waves. Now tidal waves, that is not tidal waves cannot be seen in our country, of course. High tide and low tide. High tide and low tide. Vadadiya Badiya. So that is not a common word for us. The tidal waves are caused by the effect of sun and moon. Tidal waves are caused by the effect of sun and moon. Now what happens is there is two types, that is two types of tidal waves. One is high tide and the other one is low tide. What happens in the high tide? The sea waves, the sea level comes up. Sea level like right? And in the low tide, the sea goes back. That is what happens in tidal waves, right? So what they do is, now during the high tide, the sea water comes to the ground, and during the low tide, water goes back. Now during this process, when water comes and when water goes back, they use that to rotate the plates of turbines and produce energy. වතුර දැන් high tide එකේ වතුර එද්දී low tide එකේ වතුර යද්දී ඒ යන running water වලින් turbines කරකවල electricity හදනවා. That is what they use. So that is also very useful if we can practically use them, right? Next one is geothermal energy. Now what is this geothermal energy? Now geothermal energy now in inner regions of our crust, crust එකේ ඇතුළට යන්න, right, the temperature is very high. The temperature is very high. So we can use this high temperature, the heat, to produce energy, right? So what they do is, using pipes, right, they send water to these inner regions. Pipe දාලා මට දාලා යාලා ඇතුළට වතුර යවනවා. And due to the high temperature in that region, the water evaporates. It makes steam, right? And that steam comes to the upper level. Steam එක හදනවා. වතුර යනකොට high heat එකකින් වතුර යවුවාම පහළට පොළවේ යටට ඒ යට තියෙන high heat එක නිසා water ඔක්කොම steam වෙනවා. එතකොට ඊට පස්සේ steam එක ලොකු power එකකින් උඩට ගහනවා. Now you may have seen it in the ice age, right? There are some spots where they emit steam, right? දැකලා කුකුලෙක් ගිහලා එකපාරට you may have seen it, right? So likewise, now using this steam, high power in a steam making, that energy also they use to rotate the plates of turbines, and using that they produce electricity. Okay. The last one is nuclear energy. So that is also we can't use them in our country because we don't have that facility, and of course using nuclear energy is very dangerous, right? Because a single mistake can destroy everything, right? So what is this nuclear energy? Now we say that sun is the main source of energy. It produces a lot of energy, right? So how the sun produce energy? How the sun produce energy? The sun produce energy by these nuclear reactions. Nuclear reactions වලින් තමයි ඉරේ ශක්තිය නිපදවන්නේ. Now you may have heard that our the smallest unit of everything is atom. පරමාණු වලින් තමයි මේ හැමදේම හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ, right? Now in පරමාණු ඇතුලේ තියෙන නෂ්ටිය, that is the nucleus, right? Inside the atom there are the nucleus. Now the reaction of this nucleus is the reason for nuclear energy, and that is a very big energy, right? So the nuclear energy is nuclear energy in a controlled condition. We can use this nuclear energy only in controlled condition. If not, everything will explode. You may have heard about nuclear bombs, the disaster they are doing, right? So nuclear energy can be used only under controlled condition. හොඳට පාලිත තත්ත්වයකදී විතරයි nuclear energy පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් පුපුරලා ඔක්කොම මුළු රටම විනාශ වෙලා යන්න බව පුළුවන්, right? So using this nuclear energy also they produce electricity, but that is not practical to our country, right? So those are the energy sources we are discussing in this lesson. Now we heard what is energy, we learned what is energy and how energy is produced in energy sources, and what are the energy sources we have and what are the application. Where do we use these energy sources? Mainly to produce electricity, right? So now in our last part we have sustainable use of energy sources. Sustainable use of energy sources. What do you mean by the sustainable use? Now Buddha, I said, now when we were talking about these energy sources, some were unlimited but some were limited, especially the fossil fuels, the main energy source we are using in the present. So those things are very limited. So when we are using these limited energy sources, we have to think about the coming generation, the future generation, right? If we utilize all these energy sources and finish them, what will happen to the coming generation? Do they have to go back to the Stone Age where there were no energy sources like electricity? No, right? So there should be a limit. When we are using these energy sources, we have to think not like අපි ඔහේ පාවිච්චි කරනවා වාලේ පාවිච්චි කරනවා අපි හිතන්න ඕනේ මේක අපි පරිස්සම් කරන්න ඕනේ කියන එක අපේ that is our responsibility, right? Our duty to protect and use these energy sources with care, but we must think that we should protect these things for our future generation. That is the sustainable use of these energy sources, using them with the thought that we must protect them for the future generation, right? So that is the end of the lesson, right? So I explain again, right? Our topic is energy in day-to-day life, and we learn energy is the ability to do work. We can't do anything without energy, right? So energy is produced by energy sources, and we discuss about those energy sources and how they are applied, what is the application, and what is the sustainable use of energy, right? Energy sources. So that is the end of the lesson today. So try to do the exercise. I have already given you the note of this lesson, right? So read the note again and watch the video. try to do the exercise. So that's all. God bless you all.